Hello, FlossTube. It's Ros Clark. This is Ros Clark Craft. That's who I am on Instagram and here on YouTube, also over on Etsy. A few months ago, if you've been a subscriber for a little while and watched my last video, you'll know that I said I was more or less stopping doing FlossTube. And it is true, most of my crafting endeavours are now over either on Instagram or my Facebook group, which is called Ros Clark Craft, and you're very welcome to join me there if you're on Facebook. There's a couple of questions you have to answer, just, to prove that you're a real person who wants to do craft. But you're most welcome to join me there. But I have been watching a lot of Flossmas in the last few days, and I have been doing a lot of adventing. Some advent calendars and some advent crafting, and I was just like, I really want to do a lot of videos. So I think what I'm going to try and do is videos at the end of every week of Advent. So that will be 4 over the next few weeks, ending at Christmas. Yeah, so that's fun. So thanks for joining me if you're watching this. If you're not a subscriber, if you're not clicked on the notification bell, you might want to do that, because my videos are going to be few and far between after Advent is finished, I think. But, you never know when one might pop up like this one. So I'll tell you what I've got for you today. I've got some Advent stitching that I think we're going to start with. I've got some Advent calendaring, which is very exciting. And I've got a giveaway. I knew there was something else. And I might have to pause while I go and get the thing to show you for the giveaway. So we're going to start with my Advent stitching. So some of you may recognise this. This was a piece that was the Roxy Floss Modern Folk Embroidery Evertote Countdown from 2 years ago. You can see I changed this. This was supposed to have Anno 2023, I think. I did get the whole thing, and all of the flosses on this are from that, but I did change where I put some of the colours. So if you've seen it looking a little bit different, that'll be why. But I loved it, and as I was stitching it, the more it kept reminding me of the Song of Songs, which is the book in the Bible that I wrote my PhD on, that I'm supposed to be writing a book about. Yeah, it's not really going anywhere at the moment, but it really reminded me of that. The deer and the birds and the heart for love, because it's a book all about love, and the flowers and the vines. And I was just like, actually, it really reminds me of that. So I put in, this is a verse, Song of Songs 2, verse 12, which I now can't completely remember what that verse is. Anyway, so I really enjoyed stitching that. And then very shortly afterwards, Jacob came out with this design. This was the Salentine's pattern, or the Valentine's pattern for 2024. And somebody who I think was Michelle from Mama Loves You GB, but I could be wrong, pointed out that it was exactly the same dimensions as the holiday countdown. I'm like, it is. And it's got some motifs in common. It's got a heart, it's got deer, it's got flowers. What does it have? It doesn't have birds. But anyway, it just felt like, oh, those two things. Oh, that's right. It got sort of urns with trees in them. And I'm like, I'm going to do that. Because obviously with the holiday countdown, you get a whole skein of floss. And Roxy Floss are 8 yards. You're not using 25 skeins of 8 yards to do this. You get a lot left. You really, really do. So I'm like, well, I'm going to use those, and I think I can just about squeeze it on the same piece of fabric, which I did. If I'd known in advance I was going to do 2, I'd have placed it differently. But nonetheless, I had just about enough. So I did this, and then I added, I can't remember what was supposed to be across here, but I added, this says in Hebrew, I am my beloved's and he is mine, which is from the Song of Songs. And I thought, well, those will go together. And I made them, this is a notebook cover, which was never really the final goal, but I wanted to enter this in the county show that year. They had a cross-stitch category, and obviously it needed to be a finish of it. So I thought, well, I'll make them into a notebook cover, which I entered and won the overall trophy for the winner in the category with most entries, I think. Anyway, I won a big trophy. It was all very exciting. But I think at that point my plan was already that actually this was going to become a book with more cross-stitched pages inside. And so last year for Advent, I stitched this. So this you might recognise as one of Hello from Liz Matthews' 12 Days of Christmas. This is 4 calling birds, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can see the music all there. And I think in hers, in here, it says joy to the world. And I was like, well, that reminds me of the Song of Songs because it's bird song. And there's this verse in the Song of Songs. Oh, here we go, 2 verse 12. Okay, I'll come on to why that's the other thing as well. And so I put this quote in there from that verse, the time of singing has come. But it is very explicitly bird song. Yeah, that is the same verse here. It's about not just bird song, but that spring has come and there's blossom on the trees and the birds have come and so on. That's why I included it there. So as you can see, I'm building up a whole book of Song of Songs related stitching. And this year I wanted to do another piece, but I wanted it to have people in it. Because although there is a lot of nature imagery in the Song of Songs, and, you know, all of these things that I've brought out, but it is a love song between two people. It's more than that, but it is that. So I found, let me find the chart for you, this pattern, which I've not come across previously. I don't know whether it's new or whether I had just not seen it. Oh, it says 2020, so it's not super new. This is Sweetheart Hill by Plum Street Samplers. Let me put that there. Hopefully you can see that. And what I wanted to stitch was this couple on the hill surrounded by flowers with the words here. Because you can see this is the wrong shape for my book. So I worked out that if I cut out the house, then I could make it work. So this is how far I am. I'm still using the same palette of Roxy Floss colours. I did order 1 or 2 extra of some of the skeins that I really liked. And I ordered an extra ½ yard of the fabric. But this is what we've got so far for this year. So you can see I've put the couple in. I have made some slight changes, not just in the colours, but I also made them slightly less exaggeratedly prim shape. So she has a wider waist and they both have slightly wider arms and less pronounced noses. But I'm enjoying it. It's working really well. I think I'm going to put, instead of the house, which would come in about here, I'm going to put more flowers. There's more flowers to go on both sides. And then there's the hill and that has flowers all over it as well. And then underneath I'm going to put the quote, which I was going to put "I'm my beloved's and he is mine," but I have already got that on the front cover. So I might see if there's a different quote that I will use. But I'm enjoying that. And I like that it's got the heart in a similar way that refers back to the Jacob hearts on the cover. On both sides, quite similar shape. Yeah, so I'm really enjoying that. I have not carefully divided it into equal parts, and I'm slightly nervous that when I get to the hill, which is, you know, full coverage, it's going to be quite stitching heavy. But I'm quite pleased. That's 6 days worth. So I'm filming this on December the 6th, but Advent this year began on November the 30th. That was Advent Sunday. So I've had 6 days. I've not done today's stitching yet, so it's just under a week. I'm hopeful that I'll get it done before Christmas, but it's not the end of the world if not. The main point is just to do some on it every day. That is not the only thing, however, that I've been stitching during Advent. I've also been working on Nativity Tiny Town. So lovely Sarah at Sobe Sarah had this as a thing to give away at Stitch in London, and instead of putting it on the freebie table, she asked if anyone at our table would like it, and I said yes please, I would, please, thank you. So this seemed obviously an ideal thing to stitch during Advent, and I had divided this up into quite nicely 24 parts if you counted up each sort of element, the buildings and the palm tree, and then not the little bird, but like the cow and the bird, and then the sheep, and then the same on the other side, and then Mary. Anyway, it came to pretty much the right number of things. But obviously I've done my own fabric and colours because, you know, still me. This I have really enjoyed stitching on, and I'm way ahead. So I've done sort of the first half here is complete. I've started on the second half. I'm leaving Mary and Joseph and the baby Jesus till last. There are a couple of the little tiny stars to do in the sky, but otherwise this side is complete, and I'm going to carry on working on this side next. So today I think I'm going to do, there's an angel above the camel and a little bird who sits on top of the camel here. So that'll be today's stitching. And with this, I'm letting myself get ahead, not least because I'm really nervous, like I said about the other one, that there's going to be a lot of stitch heavy days. But also, I think rather than finish the stitching of this, initially I thought, oh, it'd be fun to stitch Jesus in on Christmas Day. But actually, I think I'm going to aim to have this fully finished by Christmas. So if I get ahead on the stitching and give myself time to then do the fully finishing, I'm going to finish it as a drum, then that would be really nice to display. I do plan to decorate for Christmas this year. I don't normally decorate for Christmas, but what I thought I would do is I've recently just sort of rehung my pictures on the wall and that sort of thing, and I've got a little pile of all the things that are actual Christmas things, and I'm gonna decorate on Christmas Eve. So it'd be nice to have this ready to include to decorate for Christmas. So that's my Advent stitching, but my Adventing is more or less an all-day activity, which I'm really enjoying. So I start by opening my 2 purchased Advent calendars that I'll show you in a second. And I generally do that soon after I get up. Then I'll do whatever I'm doing for the day. Then generally around sort of 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening, I've finished work, I've done the main things I want to do for the day. I'll sit down, I'll light my little mini candle. I bought this, I don't know, 10 years ago maybe, a little brass candle holder designed for these little mini candles. And they're just a nice amount. They burn in like 15 minutes or so. So I sit and burn that, and I do my Advent devotional. And then when I've had dinner, I sit down and do my Advent stitching in the evening while I'm watching generally a lot of Flossmas, which I have been really enjoying this year. I've been watching a number of people's Flossmas. One I'm really enjoying is a channel I like anyway, which is Stitching and Tea with Bee. She's doing this year's Modern Folk Embroidery, etc., Advent calendar, but she's also got a tea Advent calendar, and I really like her thoughts as she makes the tea and drinks the tea. So it's always a very soothing 15-20 minutes with her. But I'm also watching Laura at Cotton and Clay. I'm watching Michelle at Mama Loves UGB. At least 2 other people who I now can't remember I'm watching, but maybe I'll tell you next week if I remember. So let me show you my Advent calendars because I really love these. Firstly, I have got a tea Advent calendar, and I have got this one. Isn't it beautiful? I mean, isn't it just beautiful? Beautiful, beautiful colours, beautiful art, just lovely. Both my purchased Advent calendars this year are from Fortnum & Mason. I will say they were not the super expensive. You can buy really expensive Advent calendars at Fortnum's. This was about £35. Now, I think if you buy the Bird and Blend one, it's about £30. So it's not massively more expensive. You do only get 1 bag in this one, whereas I think you get 2 in theirs. But also there's only 1 of me, and I really only need 1 cup of tea, particularly because not all of the teas in this sort of thing are going to be ones that I really love. You know, there's no point me having 2 tea bags of something if I'm like, I don't really want to drink that again. Some of them I do know I love, and I've bought tea from Fortnum & Mason's before, and I've had tea there. But this is just a really fun thing every day. So, so far we have had, let me find the things. We started off with the Christmas black tea. That was, you know, all lovely Christmas spices and cloves and nutmeg and whatever. And I really enjoyed that. Then we had black tea with fig. Now, at that point, I hadn't quite worked out that it said what the tea is on the inside of the door. And on each tea bag, there is a little tiny label, but it only says things like infusion or Christmas. So I was really struggling to work out what it was. And I did work out, I thought it was probably the black tea with fig. And then when I realised it was printed there, I'm like, oh, look, that makes that better. Anyway, all that is to say, they recommend not with milk, but I put milk in and even some honey, and it was really lovely. I wonder what it would be like without the milk and honey. I couldn't tell you. Day 3, Sicilian lemon and ginger infusion. So with that is the kind of thing I would not normally buy, an infusion. I liked it. I added honey to it, and it sort of tasted like hot honey and lemon, like you might have for a cold. The ginger, there was a little bit of ginger there, but it wasn't particularly strong. I liked it, but that's one that I am very happy to not need to drink again. Day 4, chai. Chai is not really my thing. I did drink it. I think I put milk in it. Yes, it says put milk in it, and I did. It was okay. I think I probably only drank half the mug. It's not really my thing. Day 5, Earl Grey Classic. So I love that. I love an Earl Grey. I love a Fortnum's Earl Grey. Very happy with that. Day 6 was Christmas green tea. So that did have a slightly different flavour. I'm just thinking of the Christmas green tea had in it cassia, licorice root, aniseed, star anise, coconut. The coconut was quite strong. White cornflowers, pink peppercorns. It was okay. It was better than I thought it might be, to be honest, reading the description. Without milk, I think I probably did put some honey in it. Generally, if it doesn't have milk in, I put honey in. Yeah, it was okay. I'm not a huge green tea fan, but I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. And then today was apricot, lavender and honey infusion. And I've got it here. Infusing. Added a little extra squirt of honey, even though there's already honey in it. That is really nice, actually. I really do like that. I love lavender flavour. I know a lot of people don't. I don't know if they still do that. Waitrose, they used to do lavender flavour shortbread biscuits, and I really liked them. It's not especially strong on the lavender. I can taste the apricot coming through. And obviously the honey, because I've added more honey. I do like that. I might even happily have that again. So that's a nice, and so I open that in the morning and I have the tea. If it's one that I think I might not like, I don't have it as my first cup of tea of the day, because my first cup of the day, it needs to be a good cup. But if I think I'll like it, I have it. And if not, I save it for later. And then this is the other one that I have. I love this. I love this. So this is not the Fortnum & Mason chocolate advent calendar. This is the Fortnum & Mason children's chocolate advent calendar. I believe there's a really expensive grown-up one. But I just thought this was so beautiful. So it's designed that it sits flat, but I will just, so you can see. So you fold out this bit with the rooftops and the chimneys and the sun and the moon. And then the whole thing is a design of rooftops. And I love this because the way the doors then open, show off, and each door has a little animal or snowman or something on it. So that as the whole thing goes through, it gets prettier rather than less pretty, which happens with many advent calendars. And I don't know if you can see, this has 25 days, which I approve of, particularly this year because Advent started on November the 30th. And day 25 is a big door, which it should always be, the biggest one on the last day. And this has got St. Paul's Cathedral with an owl on it. So it's really nice. It doesn't sit where I had all my Advent stuff because my dog can no longer be trusted not to eat things. So it sits on a higher shelf. But I just think it's so pretty. And like I say, each day you get to see a bit more of the picture on display and amongst the rooftops. When I last looked a couple of days ago, this was still available for a reduced price. I think it was maybe £22 when I bought it, and it's maybe about 15 now. It's not super cheap, but it's not cheap chocolate. It is just chocolate every day, with like a Santa or a candy cane or something like that on it. But it is nice chocolate. And yeah, mainly, like I said, I bought it because I just think it's beautiful. to have. So those are my purchased advent calendar. I'm just looking. Extra special treat for Christmas. Yeah, so we'll find out what that is on Christmas Day, but I imagine it will be chocolate, just a bigger bit of chocolate. Now, that's what I thought I had for Advent, but I've got one more thing, which I just got today, because I went to see a friend today, and as I was leaving, she presented me with this box, with this, well, I'll show you the label, because I was just thinking, Happy Advent. Happy Advent. I won't show you her name. This is the box. It's very exciting. So over the years, sometimes, not every year, but sometimes she has made me and I have made her Advent calendar jigsaw puzzles. So you do the jigsaw, you divide it into 24 bits, you put them in little bags, number them, and then give them to the other person to do a little bit every day. You can now purchase Advent jigsaws, but it's really lovely because if you do it yourself, obviously you can choose the jigsaw. Now, they had done this, I think, with all 24 days, but obviously I didn't see her till today, which is the 6th. So there's been some renumbering. So one of the first things I saw was this. This was day number 2, and instead of having jigsaw in it, it says to Roz. So this is written by my friend's granddaughter, who's obviously still, you know, learning her letters, and it says you can cut out a butterfly, and then look on the back, she's drawn a butterfly for me to cut out. So this is a jigsaw and craft advent calendar. I love that. Now, I was slightly struggling to find day 1, and I found this one, and I'm not absolutely sure because it might be number 1, but I also think it possibly might be number 10. But anyway, I thought I'd show you this one because you can see how all my little bags come with lots and lots of lovely stickers on them, as well as the numbers. And then inside, I've not done any of this yet. There's a little bag full of jigsaw pieces. And so I'll probably do that in the morning while my Advent tea is brewing. And that'll be a lovely thing to build up during Advent over the next few weeks. So those are all my Adventing. I'll come back next week. I'll show you how I'm getting on with the stitching. I probably won't show you the chocolate advent calendar again, very briefly anyway. I might talk a little bit more about the tea. I might show you how the jigsaw's getting on. But also, I maybe want to talk to you a little bit about some of my plans for next year. I might take you through my Christmas decorations one week. So there'll be a little bit of something else as well as adventing in each of these. And today's little bit of something else is a little giveaway. Wait right there. Here we go. So you might remember this time last year, this was a pattern I released. It's called Blessed Needle. May your needle be blessed and your stitches be neat. May your home be happy and your life be sweet. And this house is based on my childhood home. It was a beautiful Victorian farmhouse that, to me, when I think of home, that is still and always home. This pattern was designed with the idea of a blessing sampler in mind. A lot of people like to do a blessing sampler in January, something that sort of sets the tone for the whole year, maybe you know, ways in which you like to bless. But I thought actually quite a lot of people might want to do that, but they might want a small thing. They might not want to commit to a huge, great sampler. And so this is, I can't now remember the stitch count, but it's, you know, it is not big. It's pretty quick to stitch, but it still fulfills that same blessing sampler. And it's had a little resurgence in purchases in the last few weeks. And I assume that is for people precisely looking for that, a small blessing sampler. So I'm going to give away 2 PDF copies of this chart. If you leave a comment on this post using the word blessed, BLESSED, I will search those comments and pick 2 winners to give this chart to. I will pick the winners in my last Advent video. So that'll be, if you make sure you've commented before Advent ends, so Christmas Day, make sure you've commented by the 24th, and then you will be in with a chance of winning a blessing sampler for January. If you don't want to take the risk, obviously you're most welcome to go and buy it in my Etsy shop right now. I will put a link below. So, you know, don't use the scam bot words. Do just say the word blessed. Obviously it's PDF, so I can send it to you wherever you are, but make sure you're happy to send me your email address for the PDF chart to be given. That's it. I hope you're having, you're doing some adventing, that you're enjoying this sort of countdown, the anticipation, the looking forward to something, the preparation. Maybe you have special traditions for things that you do bit by bit during Advent. Yeah, let me know. I'll see you next week.